Welcome to this episode of Property Banter. Today we're joined by Dean Zaccaria. Dean is one of our clients and a success story. He's done very, very well. He's a PAYG employee with a beautiful young family, and we're so excited to share his journey on the podcast today. Dino, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, mate. Good to be here.
Mate, so you're on your fourth property. You got your 4 properties in your portfolio.
Yep.
And we just picked up the last 2 of those in the last 12 months.
Yeah, Melbourne. Bought obviously Melbourne with you, and then about 3-4 months later, we got one in Mildura as well.
January?
Yep,
January in Mildura, which is fantastic. Good. And Mildura's going off, as everyone knows.
Yeah, seems to be going well. Yeah. So let's hope they both keep growing.
They will. So for everyone at home, we want to talk about your journey and how, you're on 4 properties now. Your goal initially was to, have a principal place of residence in Sydney, paid off by the time you're 45, which you're on track to do.
Yep.
You're just a regular guy. You're a regular guy from Western Sydney, and you're on a PAYG. Your wife works part-time.
Yep.
You're both teachers.
Yep. And
you love learning about property because you and I are always talking property, right?
Yep.
Talking about the data and talking about strategy, and you're genuinely interested in this stuff, right? So I think that's been very, very important for you, differentiating yourself from a lot of people that don't take action. You learn, but then you take action. Obviously, we met through Jeremy.
Yep.
So you've had some great mentorship through Jeremy. You're on all the forums and you're researching the data, and you're always talking to me about property. So you've done really well there, mate. For everyone listening here, tell us about your journey and what's been how did it get started? And
it's been probably the better part of about 10 years now. As you mentioned, my wife and we got married in 2016, but just about a year or about 18 months prior to that, we purchased our first property together in Sydney, western suburbs of Sydney, out past Penrith. A unit sort of townhouse. It was a nice little sort of location, entry point sort of property for us at that point in time. The price point was really what we were after. It was before the Sydney market really took off and went overly crazy as it is now. So we sort of jumped into that. I guess prior to sort of doing that, we had sort of met with, as you said, people like Jeremy. I remember meeting with you all those years ago, because you're obviously originally from Sydney as well, and just sort of talking about what we wanted to get out of it, like why we were doing the property sort of investing or the property buying sort of process versus renting and these sorts of things. And I guess we just really sort of came back to the fact that, we're talking 10 years ago now, as I said, so that puts me probably in my sort of mid to late 20s at that point in time. And prior to that, I hadn't bought any property. It was probably very similar to a lot of young guys, travelled, played a lot of sport. So I was sort of very busy with life and those sorts of things, and wasn't investing in property in my early 20s. Looking back now, I wish I had. But anyway, you can't sort of change the past. But yeah, so fast forward, wanted to have that goal of PPOR paid off and living in a situation where we had flexibility and options by sort of early to mid 40s. That was the sort of goal. So 45 was sort of a number we put on it. Obviously, we understand things change and life throws curveballs at you. But we bought that first property, as I mentioned, and we were able to sort of, we bought that while we were still living at home, with our parents.
And did you use LMI to get into your first property?
Yes. So it was a 10% deposit from what I can remember. It might have been 10, might have been 15%. Can't exactly remember, to be honest, but we absolutely used LMI. And that got us into the market. We were still living at home, and then we rented that property out for a while, about 12, 18 months, and then around the time that we got married, we sort of moved the tenants on, and then we moved in, changed the flooring, painted, did a few other little bits and pieces to make it sort of suitable for us to live in, and then obviously after we got married, we moved in, and we stayed there for a few years. In that time, the property value of the city market started really moving, so I feel like we were really lucky or strategic, timed it right, however you want to look at it. We got in at a good time, and we were able to take some equity from there, and we purchased a property up here in Brisbane in Deception Bay. That was sort of circa 2017, 2018, and that was really, really well timed as well.
Because it was time to buy, late 2010s.
Yeah, we still hold that property today, and it's done really well for us. And also at that time, we were able to sort of come up with funds to purchase a property not too far from where we bought our original property in that sort of area of Sydney, Amy Heights, and that's our current principal place of residence. So what we did with that one, we bought that while we were still living in the townhouse. We were able to, once again, use equity and leverage off the properties that we had, LMI, but we were able to sort of once again purchase that 4-bed, 2-bath home, corner block, just shy of 800 square metre block, for around that 700K price point, which when you think about Sydney prices now, it's quite larger than that. So
100%. So you're PAYG, you're a teacher, your wife's a teacher as well.
Yes.
She's been working part-time since you had the kids.
Yes. Yeah, for the last probably 5.5 to 6 years. Our eldest is almost 6. So I guess when you factor in the maternity leave that she took just prior to having her, and then since that point in time, so let's just call it 6 years.
So
she's
with
been
that,
working part-time,
Yeah, so looking at that, the way I see this is someone who is not on, doesn't earn $500,000 a year, doesn't have multiple businesses, isn't, is just a regular Western Sydney guy with a small family, and you've gotten into the market with a 10% deposit. You paid lender's mortgage insurance to get you in. Okay, and then leveraged off that property, bought an investment property, then upgraded, got another renovator as a principal place of residence and renovated that and got into that. And that had some development sort of, at a granny flat, X factor features to it. And what this tells me is that anyone out there, doesn't matter what you're doing, whether, you're a teacher, government employee, you're just on, PAYG wages, and you don't think you have the money to do it. You can do it. And you can do it by getting in the market first, paying lender's mortgage insurance. Once you're in, this is the best part about property. Once you're in, you're in.
Yeah, that's right.
You leverage off that. You use the equity. You go again and again and again.
That's right.
And then you get to a position where you're at now, looking at, quite possibly buying that dream home with little or no debt at $2 million.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then I guess we come back to that original goal. So as you said, that's the biggest bit, like taking action, getting into the market. And I think not only just getting in and buying anything, right? Like having strategic buying. So, making sure you surround yourself with the right people, such as yourself, but also like the right markets, what to buy, not over sort of capitalizing or overextending yourself. Those sorts of things are obviously crucial, as we know. But yeah, it's been a real sort of journey, and along the way I've really tried to educate myself, and obviously the wife has really sort of been there as a really strong support, because without her it wouldn't have been possible. Like even though she works part-time, like as you said, we're only PAYG employers. We have an income limit in terms of what we earn. So, even though we had the other property that we mentioned, the townhouse that was in the portfolio, but we sold that. We're sort of at that sort of pointy end of our serviceability, unless we've started really looking at either, selling off one or two assets or restructuring things in different ways. But it's been very straightforward. Like we haven't used like trusts and those sorts of things. It's just been very sort of leverage, as you said, and just sort of pick the right property in the right moment, try to get into the market at the right time, and then we've used that to sort of continue building.
Yep, 100%. And I think that's the best part, because whilst you're on PAYG and you're an average, athletically gifted though, all right, guy from Western Sydney.
Don't know that anymore, but yeah.
Yeah, well, you struggled opening that bottle. No, we cut that. You should cut that. I'm joking with you. Yeah. You have increased your net worth a great deal.
Yep.
Yours and your family's, right? Because you've invested well and bought 1, 2, 3, 4 properties, and your net worth is constantly growing.
That's right.
And that in turn is what's going to put you in a position to be able to buy that principal or place of residence and achieve that goal by the time you're 45. And you're going to achieve that way sooner.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and as I said, like it was just about having options. So we really just wanted to get to a position where we didn't have to feel like we had to work that sort of 9 to 5 or whatever it is till we're 60, 70 and just struggle to make ends meet. So I feel like, we're now in a situation where we've got a number of properties in the portfolio in addition to a current PPOR, which we are going to look to upgrade in the next 1 or 2 years. And with the benefit of having those other properties in the portfolio, particularly the one in Brisbane that's done really well for us. We do have an option there if we want to sell that and take a significant amount of capital that we've obviously gained from that and use that as well as the sale proceeds from our PPOR to, as you said earlier, potentially buy what will be the 10, 15, 20-year home, the way we sort of view it anyway. Obviously, life can throw things at you, but, we've got 3 young kids, 5 and under, and we want to have that stability in that family home that they can grow up in. Yeah. We're sort of looking at a similar area to where we currently live, and in looking at those sorts of prices that we're looking at, it is sort of that circa 2 mil or, let's just say 1.8 to 2 mil in the current market. And to be able to sort of do that and have a property of that value with, maybe only $100,000-$200,000 worth of debt on it, or possibly even debt free, is something I'm really proud of. And I know my wife's proud about it as well, even though she hasn't been as active, and I've had to sort of bring her on the journey with me. And, it's been a lot of conversations and disagreements, but, I wouldn't have been able to do this without her, as I said, having not only her income support, but being able to work together from a mindset and a team perspective. That's something that I think is so crucial to, whether if you're an individual or you have a partner or a wife or whatever it might be, husband, being on the same page and working towards the same goals is so crucial. It's like yourself as a business owner and those sorts of things, because once you sort of start going sideways from that, it makes it really difficult.
But a great partner can make or break things.
Absolutely.
Because one that doesn't want to do that, or one that doesn't want to take that risk, or doesn't want to, learn and grow with you, is essentially holding you back, because they're in a different point in their life. They've got different wants. They have a different mindset. If you're not matching, but when you're on the same level, when you're the same energetic frequency and the same goals and desires in life, together, it's way more powerful.
Absolutely. It's like anything, like you said, as you've got business partners or whatever it might be. But I think, and we haven't done this with sort of, skimping out on other things. Like I said, we've got 3 kids. We've got a really comfortable lifestyle. We still do things, but we're also not, I guess, overly materialistic. So we don't need X, we don't need Y. It's sort of we sort of have worked together and try to sort of, like you said, educate ourselves and learn from others around us, such as yourself and others that have done what maybe we want to even have a quarter of or whatever it might be. Sometimes you got to sacrifice a little bit, but, we've still had a quality of life, and financially now I feel like, we're in a good situation that we can take that PPOR step, or if I want to buy another investment later this year or whatever it might be, we can do that even with, what our incomes are and those sorts of things. So it just really comes back to that taking action and really having a clear plan and strategy to then go and execute.
100%. So for anyone out there that is in a government job or a POYG or doesn't think they're in some high earning capacity or fancy job, what's the best advice you could give someone out there that may be in a similar position today as you were previously starting out?
I think it comes back to just working out, well, what's your lifestyle like now from a financial perspective, and what do you want it to look like in 5, 10, 15, 20 years? So if you're happy with what you're doing now, then keep doing that. Whether that's renting, paying $5,000 a month in mortgage repayments and not having much money left over, if that's what you're cool with, then go for it.
Happiness is important, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And we all talk about making money and financial sort of freedom, but ultimately that's only one element of happiness, right? There's got to be a magnitude of things that contribute to that, I think. So, however, if you are someone who wants to maybe take control of your financial future and maybe build a bit more wealth, that you don't have to, work as hard later in life, or you can have options with the kids, we're obviously hoping to do, or, you can build some intergenerational wealth, whatever it might be. I think it's really important that you sit down and you really start to strategize, think about, what does that look like? What is the goal for you? What are the goals? The goals will always change. The goalposts shift all the time. We've had to deviate and change our approach over the last sort of 7 to 10 years a number of times. And then there was COVID. So lots of changes, but you've got to be willing to change. You've got to educate yourself, and you've got to surround yourself with the right people. So I feel like, people like yourself, Jeremy, who we've talked about already as an accountant, and then Andrew Torriello as a broker. I feel like I've got 3 really strong people that know their stuff and can really support me. And not just that, but have time for me as well. Like, that's the important thing. Like, I'm not in the top sort of 5-10% of probably, you know, maybe even some of your clients or some of Jeremy's clients, for example. I don't make or have that many assets compared to what they might. But what I'm big on is that interpersonal relationship, and don't sort of just push someone aside because they don't have as much or make as much. Like, and I don't feel like that's what you or these people do, which I'm really grateful for.
Let's touch on that. So that's how we ended up connecting back again.
Yeah.
Because you were working with another buyer's agent for your last purchase.
Yes.
And that's what I like about our relationship is that we get on the phone, we talk it out.
Yep.
If you're thinking of this area, or you're thinking this strategy, or should I do this, should I do that, we just jump on a call, we talk it out, and you get a lot of clarity from that, you know. And I love that about help you buy clients. I think that's super important is having that communication.
Yeah, absolutely. You've always been willing to sort of take calls and support me, which is, you know, something I'm really grateful for. But I guess, you know, as you mentioned, working with a previous buyer's agent, we were able to purchase one through them, and that worked out. But I guess as time went on and we sort of reconnected, it sort of didn't feel like it was the right sort of approach or the right strategy with them. So we obviously had a few conversations, and we sort of aligned in a number of ways, and that sort of drove me to coming on board and working with you. And yeah, obviously, as you mentioned before, we bought the Melbourne one and Mildura. Maybe we have to buy Darwin.
Let's talk to Toriella after this. We're going to sort something out, mate. So, I think if we can get a little sneaky one there, I think that might be all right. Some quick equity, but I think that's important, and that's what I want everyone at home watching this to take away is, you know, that isn't a big dollar business owner or whatever. They're just, you know, you're just a regular guy from Western Sydney.
Yeah, that's it.
PAYG. You're both teachers, and utilising a good team and executing that strategy. I think also, let's talk about the fact that there are a lot of people, and I talk to a lot of people who actually have good knowledge, but then they don't follow up and take action.
Yeah, and look, it's let's not sugarcoat it. It's a risk investing your money, whether it's property, you know, EFTs, bonds, shares, whatever it might be. Like, it's a risk. Like, people work hard for their money, and they're not always willing to just throw it away. Not everyone has a high risk appetite versus low risk appetite. But I guess this is where you can do your own due diligence, your own research, your own education, which I've really tried to do. I'm not someone who just jumps on a herd mentality approach just because everyone else is saying something or doing something. Like, I've really tried to not only, you know, educate myself and do all those sorts of things, but as I said, align myself with the right people such as yourself and have the right team around me, so then I can balance out what I'm getting from my team, what I know, and then we sort of meet somewhere in the middle. And if I'm still unsure, I'll do my own further education, research, even get second, third, fourth opinions from other areas, and then try to come up with a decision. But ultimately, there's always going to be a level of uncertainty, particularly when you're new to it. But I think having or trusting the people around you, if you've gone down that path, that they've done it and they've got your best interests. So it's a big mindset thing, isn't it? Like, for people to sort of be able to jump in and part way with their hard-earned money.
But people have to also look at it from this perspective. If you want a sure thing, cool. Put your money in the bank and get some interest on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Okay, and that's not even a sure thing. If one day in 100 years that bank goes broke or we go to a third world war or whatever, right? There can be a worst case scenario. Nothing's 100% in this life, but that's more the safe thing where people feel safe.
Yeah.
But if you really want to make returns and you really want to get yourself to a position where you can buy that principal place of residence for $2 million, or you can retire in 200,000 passive income, you know, whatever your personal goal is for your circumstances, you need to invest and take a little bit of risk. Without
it's
there's
hard,
no reward, right? That's the saying.
We both come from, you know, immigrant European backgrounds, and I guess it's that generational change as well, like what you're used to. So like what your family did or what you were told to do versus not to do. All these sorts of things are where a lot of people, I think, maybe some of the younger generation, get unstuck because, you know, I was taught that you had to save up and pay your house off. Like, probably 95% of us were told to do, you know, from
pay your house in cash.
Yeah, or, you know, you just work hard and pay your mortgage off. And then once you've achieved that, then, but can you work smarter, not harder? I don't know. That's the question.
And that's good.
Well, obviously you can, but that's the question people need to ask themselves. Can you work smarter, not harder? And for me, I work hard enough as it is in my day job, and then coming home and being a father, and it's busy, and trying to be a good husband, all that sort of stuff. Like that's hard. People know that if they've got a similar situation to me. So what can I do to work smarter or make my money work smarter, or our money? Sorry, it's not my money. Our money to work harder for us, that in another sort of 5 years from now we can have a lot more flexibility in our life.
But I think that's 100% correct. What we're taught is, work hard and then take that money and buy your house in cash, or down pay it, work overtime and then pay your house off. As opposed to utilizing good debt where you can leverage and go 1, 2, 3 investment properties. 3 investment properties goes up in value. Yeah. Let's say they're going up in value $10,000 a month.
Absolutely.
Each, right?
Absolutely.
Or combined, whatever it is, right? That $10,000 a month is $2.5K a week. That's money that even if you did work, you do your 40 hours and then you put in 60 or 70 hours of overtime, get a bit of overtime, tax hits you hard. You can never get to that position of the individual who's not doing any overtime, who's scraping by the bare minimum, but has 3 investment properties.
So what's your time worth as well, and your health and your sanity and everything else? Like you can work and work and work like a dog physically, but you're just going to end up either having health issues or you're never going to get that time back. So like for me and my wife Nicole, like we're really big on like quality of time with our kids. Like we don't want to miss them growing up because I'm working all the time or whatever it might be. Like that's important to us. So it's a significant reason why we've done what we've done, because we want to have choices.
Yeah.
And flexibility. It wasn't about, like I said, generating X amount of passive income. If and when that happens, I'm sure if I continue to invest and I do so strategically, whether it be residential, commercial, whatever, we'll get to a point of a decent cash flow perspective in the future. But right now, it's about, you tick off small goals as you move to the bigger goals. And I think it's just getting started and having a really sort of clear mindset around wanting to get started and making something happen. And then once you start to see that happening, you're like, oh yeah, I can actually do this. And then, but yeah, it's not without risk, and you got to have the right people, the right advice, the right education. But there's lots of stuff out there that you can get educated on. So.
100%. Obviously, we've just bought your last 2 properties. We're going to do plenty more with you.
Yeah,
and
that's the hope anyway.
We enjoy working with you. For anyone out there looking to hire a buyer's agent, would you recommend us? And
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't be sitting here without obviously having that recommendation. But I think, obviously you're knowledgeable, very experienced. You've achieved a lot in your sort of time as well. And I think the biggest part is that sort of personal sort of touch that you provide as well. So, you're a small team, but big enough to care and big enough to sort of manage the clients that you have. But, what I've liked is that, I can pick up the phone, call you, even if it's after hours, weekend, and you've always got that time.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the time because you're busy doing something, you'll generally make the time to call me back on the same day or the next day. And that's really important because, when you sort of investing and putting your money into a significant purchase, several $100,000 purchase or even more. Sometimes you just got random questions or things that you need to sort of check off and make sure. So and I feel like
it's good to be able to bounce that off someone who's done it.
But also, like, you've got, I feel like you've got a strong network of people around the country that you work with and support you. So whether that be other buyers agents, real estate agents, solicitors, those sorts of things. You've obviously built that up, so that's really important for clients to be able to leverage off as well. So
100%, bud, 100%. I really appreciate you popping in today. Thank you so much for joining us.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Property Banter. If you got a lot out of this, please like, subscribe, share it with a friend, and until next time, take care.